Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? I think I talked more than 3 minutes up to this point. So I'll be very quick. We're just talking about political participation, and that's what this panel is going to discuss. As for me, he was just saying that, you know, if you talk about veterans, don't touch our veterans, versus if you talk about Muslims. Well, I happen to be a veteran of the U.S. Marines, and I'm a Muslim, so where does that, can I talk about both of them then? I'm free to talk about both, right? I think the biggest thing for youth, and I think I'm going to try to sort of tailor everything towards that, is very easy. You know, when you were 10 years old, if you saw something you didn't like, you did something about it. You went to mommy and said, I don't like this. I don't like these clothes, I'm not wearing them. I don't like the orders I'm given, I don't want to follow them. So rule number one to any kind of political engagement is, first of all, know what you don't like. Easy enough. The second thing is, what are you willing to do about it? Now, the engagement element of it, you know, the first thing is identifying what it is that you don't like or that you want changed in any which direction. But the immediate question after that is, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice time? It's a big question. Are you willing to sacrifice time? Because time is the most valuable thing that you have. Whether it's volunteering, whether it's being engaging, whether it's doing the organizational work yourself. What are you willing to sacrifice? If you have, I mean, quickly, how many people have a Facebook page? That took time. You actually had to sit, you know, create a username, find people, you know, some strangers who say you want to be my friend and vice versa. That took time. Political organizing is just that, Facebook. All it is you find people that are just as upset as you are about a particular issue. It's not necessarily knowing the solution day one. It's recognizing the issue day one. The process of figuring out the solution is the organizing. That's it. There's nothing else to it. There's nothing else to it. The immediacy is the issue. What do you want to sacrifice? Getting there is the organizing. If you take one step, you've taken a step toward the solution. So when people talk about politics and campaigning and Congress and so forth, every one of them started with that very first question. My time is up.
I just want to correct my name first, not knowing that there's too many Somalis in this room. My name is Nimco, but I have the C in my name, so that's why the sister called me Nimco, but I go by Nimco as well. My 3 minutes starts right now. Just kidding. But, you know, I can't agree more with Brother Guled. Every activist or every elected, if you ever ask them this question, what got them active, they will tell you the day when they became active and what ticked them the most. It's about the issues more than anything. But, you know, oh, that's my phone, I guess, sorry. You know, many people that look like us, especially young people or whether it's people of color, have a hard time actually participating in the political process in this country. But you know what? But there's no excuse. For us, we are much uniquer than a lot of those people that I'm talking about. I think knowing that we have a greater needs and much higher needs than most of the people or the other color folks people, and I don't want to speak for nobody, but I think there shouldn't be any excuses why we shouldn't vote, why we shouldn't get to know every elected that represents. Just give me a hands up. How many of you know your city council? Good enough. How about your state rep? Your mayor? Your congressman? Your senator? You know, it's the same old people. You know, it's just, you know, and the issue is here is many of us get up every morning and we wake up on the same issue that we woke up with yesterday. And luckily, we will probably do tomorrow as well. And the thing is, if our issues don't ever carried on to those elected officials, our issue will always stay the same. So please and please, it's not hard. You can just, there is a way where you can actually search it on the web. All you have to do is put on your zip code, and you know what? You'll get everybody who represents you. If it's state level, sometimes federal, and then even citywide. You know what? The thing is, and I'm going to be quite honest with you, knowing that I'd work with a lot of elected officials, guess what they're mostly afraid of? Someone who's active, who shows up in every meeting, who is aware of their surroundings. Like, for me, when I come to a room with elected officials, they know to shake my hand. Because you know why? I'm someone, I work in campaigns, I've managed campaigns, won campaigns. He or she knows that if they don't actually deliver my issues or talk to me or acknowledge me as an individual, that you know what? I'll probably luckily run against them or find someone to run against them. My 3 minutes is up. So I encourage you all to get active, to run even for office like Brother Guled. Are you still running?
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Fardous. I think Guled actually covered basically what I wanted to say, but however, I will try to make it unique and apply to me. Why we should participate? Because I count. Because my life is very important to me, because I have an opinion, because I want to live a fulfilled life, I want to contribute, and I want my rights. And before I ask my rights, I want to make sure I apply the rules and the regulations. For me, the participation really started my personal goal in Somalia. First day in school, I was bullied, and I think a lot of people here can relate to that. When you go to school in Somalia and people take your breakfast, that's really not a pleasant experience. That's really where my whole interest in politics started, because I felt I was violated. I came home, and the first thing my parents said was, oh, fulaya tahay. And I think that a lot of people here can understand also, meaning that you chickened out and you needed to stand up for yourself and fight. And I didn't like that, because I knew there was another solution to solve the problem, not fighting, and bullying wasn't accepted. So that's my journey with politics. That's where it started. I didn't like really what was I being told, and it made anger in me, because I knew intellectually it's not a proper way to solve a problem. However, growing up, being a teenager, coming to Egypt and coming here, I took my own life experience to grow, to understand why, as an individual, it's important for me to have my uniqueness as a person, as a Somali, as a woman, as a Muslim, and again, being an American. And what do they offer, and how do I pick the things that apply to me and really use them to my advantage to be a contributor citizen, and also a person who wants to learn, who's really very anxious to understand the world, to know how I can map my life, and in that process, help along people and ask for help. So I think participation in that perspective for me was very important.
If we can give a round of applause to our excellent panelists. At this time, I'll be taking questions. If anybody has a question, while you guys think of some, I guess I'll ask you guys one.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for your information that you gave us, and I think it's very important. The question I have is, you mentioned that you're asking the questions, who knows your mayor, who knows, and the same people raise their hands. How can we, and we know that the Somali community is growing wherever they live in the United States, and how can we work together? And those who knows the government can work with those who do not know the government, but still willing to contribute their votes and their power. How can we unite? How can we work together as a Somali community? Not a personal interest level, but the community interest.
I think you raised a great question. Many of us think of politics or political participation just the day of voting, but that's just the day that every work begins, literally. But the thing is, that one thing that we need to all think about it is there's a way where you can actually get involved in, whether it's local level, state level, federal level, in every issue that you have. When you actually get to know your elected officials, You will actually know the type of person that they are. You will know the issues that they care about it. Therefore, you can actually align with as far as where the issue goes. But then the thing is, getting active is a personal responsibility, honestly. I can run around at the day of election, drag as many people as possible for them to vote, but what goes on beyond that is a personal responsibility, guys. You guys have to stay active. The thing is, right now, I'll give you guys a great example. How many of you guys heard of Organizing for America? Organizing for America is the most uniquest model that someone has ever invented. Normally, what we do is every 4 years when we elect our president, that's the last day we actually hear from them as a candidate. From there on, it's just like, we actually see them in TV as far as press conference, things like that. But right now, a great president who's actually an organizer, like many of us, his model of Organizing for America, what he wants to do is he wants to stay active locally every day until the day that he's done. Right now, the DNC, the National Democratic Committee, half of their budget goes for Organizing for America. Because you know why? For the first time in the last 4 years, more and more Americans have gotten active in the political process ever since the war in Vietnam. How long ago was that? Many of us weren't even born then, right? So the thing is, you have to stay active. Other people want to get you active, but you know what? If you don't get out of your bed and do what you need to do for yourself, for your community, and just for the greater good of the people that are around you, there's nothing that's going to actually be handed to you. That's all.
Okay, I have a question about, you just talked about the voting. And as we know, the Somali people, 1960s after that, we never seen anyone who's going to poll and vote. We don't know nothing about it. Okay, here we are in America. There's the system, how to vote, how to get involved. How you get educated? Our own people who never voted, it doesn't matter which generation, because there is a connection between the old and the young. So if the sister or the brother wants to get involved, the political engagement, they cannot do anything because the mom and dad are going to say, oh no, whoever wants to be elected, it will be. So don't worry. So we have that mentality. Okay, some people would believe, okay, Barack Obama is going to be the president, that's going to happen. So my vote is not going to change anything. So how are you going to change that mentality and to educate our own people to say the vote is a very important, our own community, our own issue, so we can change whatever we want it, to hold it accountable, those who we elected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, that's a very good question. And for me, there's really, to answer it very well, there's a lot of components one has to understand. First, the system, political systems in third world countries does not give you a confidence to think your vote counts, which is why, when we are here, it's extremely important to understand, and I'm glad that Corey mentioned the founding fathers. Literally, that's the only, when we understand and get that character, that discipline, that education, that commitment to civility, to life, to pursue of happiness, that's when we will understand why participation is crucial. Because if we come up from a background that nothing was never, you apply something and it didn't work, someone else was deciding, you never counted. And here we are in a system that actually the system works. Regardless of people, they think of black or white, we have a black president in a very, very short time. If you look at it, sometimes I think it's impossible. I've never imagined that I will see a black president. And it only made the change in less than 40 years. So believing in this system in America is the only way that we can be, as an individual, stronger, as a participant is stronger, as a politician who can build and add to this country, and as well transfer and share that knowledge to the people who we left back home. Understanding this system is the only thing that can help us. And I'm not saying this, and this is a lot of scholars did it. You look at China, you look at Japan, you look at Singapore, they understood this system. They didn't have to reinvent the wheel. What they did is they get educated understand its value, why it's important, why we would care about it, how does it impact me as an individual, what does it give me as an option? Because I think when you're doing something, I need to know how this changes me and why I should be loyal to it. What does it give me? It gives me a liberty. I came in here 10 years ago, and because of the system, I work for IBM, and I get to work from home, and I finished my master's, and I get to decide what I want to do with my life. If I didn't believe in the system, and I didn't apply myself within the system, politically, economically, educationally, individually, I wouldn't get anywhere. I would sit and just hypothetically speak of nonsense. And that's one thing that, as a parent, we need, as a sister, as a husband, a wife, a worker, that's a network of sharing information, that you make sure you don't lose the opportunity. I'm driving my sister to work. We listen to NPR. I make sure she volunteers. I make sure she goes to YMCA, does her volunteering. I make sure why the budget affects her education. She needs to understand that, because that will affect the opportunity she will get in going to college, the people she will meet in life, how her life will be evolved, the opportunity she will have to live with in other countries or get more education, to the work, the person she's going to marry. All these things, the system contributes to it, which is why I cannot really say it enough. Understanding the system, especially in America, it's just a shame, because especially in this networking and internet time, and the immense information we have, our exposure, and how we're really not using it, it's just really a shame. And that's why a personal commitment and responsibility must come from the individual as a young person. Your parents have a responsibility, but you as an individual also have an equal responsibility to make sure your experiences in life leads to growth, and that you have to be open, you have to understand why certain things worked for certain people and why they didn't work, and what can you learn from it. So for me, that's really the most important thing. Education, that you understand the system adds to yourself, so you're really working for yourself, and you have a piece on that, and you have a say, regardless of how insignificant that role might be or that opportunity might be. And democracies or civilizations or economies or growth takes time, and you have to be patient with yourself, but impatiently curious and inquiring information relentlessly. Because the founding fathers, that's what they did. They knew that there was a way. And each one of them resembled a story of a character, of a value, of a commitment, of understanding that it is their job to find a better way and not resting until they create that opportunity for the whole society. So for us, I think really just learning from them and understanding the system and why it's important that everybody, when you're having a dinner or 5-minute conversation with your sister or somebody that came across in Starbucks, that conversation that you make, really, if you want it, you can make the richest conversation as a kid, because that's how you're gonna get out of drug, that's why you would understand volunteering for your time. And that's actually, volunteering is one of the major things we have in our Somali community. We don't see it as something valuable, but America is built and sustains to be built. Our president was elected because of volunteers. Nobody believed, but young people knew the importance of their time. And until we understand those values and characters and know how they led to this society to prosper, it's the best seen democracy or a system in the world. So we have it here. I don't understand why we're confused. All we have to do is just look around. You go into your school, you see the guy who's standing outside making sure the kids go online and nobody speeds up on the stop sign. That's a volunteer. That's a very noble volunteer system. And he's doing it because he sees the value of that person going to school, making sure that they're safe. So what I'm saying is the opportunities, the resources, the help is abundant. And all we have to do is just be very cautious and know how to look and how to get what we want. So I hope I answered your question, and I've been talking too much, but it's a very dear subject to me.
If I can just ask the panelists to keep their answers at 3 minutes because we are short on time. We have another question.
Assalamu alaikum. Corey just gave us an excellent top-level overview of how we can influence government. I had a question for anybody can answer this one since all three of you have political involvement. What issues politically have been successful for you to delve into and make success with, and which issues politically have been non-starters in your campaigns? And this putting on your Muslim American hat right here. Thank you.
Okay. It's a good one. By way of identity, I ran for local office. I ran for a state house in Maryland in 2006. And I lost. Keyword ran, right? The things that got me going early on was issues. And to sort of simplify the elections and voting and government, you vote every day. You decide something every day. Why not decide your government? Decide what you're going to wear. Decide the toothpaste, deodorant. Why not decide your government? Very easy. Local government impacts you at a greater scale than national government. President Obama really doesn't have an impact on the majority of your day, but everybody was enthusiastic about it. But your county council, your city council, your mayor, that's what impacts you. Children in elementary schools, middle school, we want to have off during Eid, Ramadan. We want to even instill some kind of time for prayer and all that stuff. Local government. So the very first thing is issue. My issue, I live in Montgomery County, Maryland, and my issue that really got me going was there is I'm not sure if you're familiar with this area. In Montgomery County, we have one of the best school systems, et cetera, et cetera. But if you think about it, actually just 2 years ago now, and it's actually improving, 25% of African American kids in high school in Montgomery County right now today, cannot qualify for after-school activities. It's 25% because they are failed. It means D or below. That's something that can fire you up if you think about it. That's 25%, a quarter right off the top. Can't compete in any after-school activities. Forget the intellectual argument. In one of the best school systems, 25% of African American kids, boom, out. 27% of Latino kids, out. The school system in Montgomery County, I'm just giving you a little example of some of the issues that can get you fired up. So the question is, what are you going to do? Are you okay? If you're okay with that, then that's not your issue. So the very first thing is you find out the issue. And 90% of the times, your issue is local. Okay, fine. Where does this issue get impacted? In this term, is it the school board, county council, at the state house? Each one of the local government structures has an impact on it. So then the question is, what impact does it have? Is it from a legislative sense, in the sense that do we need new rules? Or is it from the executive sense, in the sense that is the executive applying the rules? All kinds of crazy talk if you think about it. But the very first thing is the issue had better impact you first. Just like the shirt you're wearing today. That was a personal issue for you. You decided what you're going to wear. If you're at a street corner and you say, there should be a traffic light here because I saw an accident, that's your issue. It's very easy. So first thing is the issue. Second thing is, where is that issue controlled? And the third thing, again, goes right back to time. What kind of time are you willing to sacrifice? So one of my issues was education. I have a little girl in elementary school. Maybe that's why I was like, wait a minute, let me look at the schools. Another could be crime. So the issue that touches you first is what you should go after first. Don't try to import somebody else's issue. People are going to be passionate about myriad of things. Now, kind of touch the question that was asked about elections and so forth. It is a generational process. It's a generational process. It's a new system. So again, simplify the question. You make decisions every day. You make hundreds of decisions every day. Why not decide who your government is? It's just another decision. Thanks.
Okay, once again, if I can just remind the panelists to keep it at 2 minutes now so we can give everybody an opportunity to ask a question.
Assalamu alaikum. My question is, as we all know, charity begins at home. It's great that we're all involved in the political system in America and trying to be involved and know what is going on. But what is it that we lack to do for our country? It's been 20 years too long. What is it that we lack in the youth, of the Somali youth, to not do something for our country, for our own country?
Two words: self-improvement. That's it. Education, education, education.
Can I say 2 words also? It's if you don't have anything to offer to yourself, most likely you have nothing to give to anybody else. So really individual. You do it for yourself, it's easy to do it for others.
And I mean, I'll just add one thing as well. What we learn from here, and as far as whether it's, you know, political advocacy or political engagement, is what we are going to actually take it back. So I think learn as much as you can. This is a great system. We probably will be we probably have to tweak it in a way where it actually has to work for our people. But this is a great system, and I think that's something that I would like to take it back myself.
I actually will say 2 things more. My personal experience is you first have to work with yourself, meaning in education, 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 education. Nothing else will take you out of it. And when I say education, I mean you're opening your mind, you're looking at possibilities, you understand why certain things are important to Kuihin. You also understand what is it that you can contribute as an individual. It's a long process, but when it comes, the opportunity comes that you can do something, at least because you have the education and the information or the experience to share. But if an opportunity comes and here you're sitting next to a big CEO and he wants to hire you, but you don't have the qualification, it's useless. You get the opportunity, but you're not prepared. So preparing yourself individually, then we can give back to the country, because it's ideas floating around us that we can say, well, maybe we can try this. Maybe this is what we can do. Maybe a group of us can get together and create the best schools. Maybe we can develop a book also in a Somali language that will say, here's how you would say, you could solve or educational. So just again.
I just want to add 30 seconds. And the other thing is, in federal level, I think if we actually get involved, we might be able to help our country as far as bringing some changes from here on, like from this country to our country. And the only people that have that power is those that live here.
Hi, Edel Osman from the Voice of America. My question is about national security in this country. Now, ever since, for the past couple of months, the 20 Somali Americans have gone to Somalia to participate in what is classified as extremist activities. There has been a heightened sense of the methods that the National Security officials use towards Somali youngsters in terms of the stop and search, random selections at airports. So what I want to ask is, how can the Somali youngsters work together with the national security officials to ensure that the security is enforced in the country, but at the same time, the kids don't get singled out or feel that they're being discriminated against?
I think that's a great question. I just want to point out, a great sister who's sitting, Hanan Osman, she was actually on her way from Minnesota yesterday coming here, and she was actually locked in a room for 45 minutes for no reason, simply so they can actually touch her hijab from the back for 45 minutes, guys. But the issue is this: if we don't report such a thing, what is it going to be done? The thing is, a lot of our people get harassed, they go through so much, but it's just like, the story doesn't go beyond our households. The story don't go beyond these rooms. I think, things like that is what violates our rights, and that's what actually this country stands for. The thing is, many of us are just still stuck on that old politics that actually brought us here from our country. This is a different country. We all have rights, but if we don't exercise it, we can't complain, honestly. This is really the truth. But the other thing that we have to understand is things don't happen quick here. Nothing happens really quick here. everything takes a time. There's a process. There's forms to fill out. We look at these forms, 5 forms. We don't want to fill it out. Like, I've seen people who came to my office who complained about things, and I'm like, reaching out to people. I'm making all these calls, and all of a sudden they're like, well, I'll email you these forms, and Nimco, have them fill it out, send it back to me. They look at the forms and like, I don't want to do this. Well, come on. You actually came out of your house, drove all the way to my office, have to pay for $5 parking, but you don't want to fill out these forms. It don't make sense. And the thing is, these issues are broader. They're really critical. I mean, this is to a point where, like, people can't even travel right now. It's serious. Like, I've seen brothers who bought tickets to go to London who were brought back, like literally brought back. You know what? And you don't get your money back. You don't. You buy a ticket and you are on a no-flight list, and you don't know why. But the thing is, we can't tolerate these things, brothers and sisters. We have to stop these things. We have to talk about it. We have to fill those forms. We have to actually exercise our rights. That's the only thing where we can actually get things back here. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I think the context is the first thing. I mean, youth, you are experts, and you're sitting on a lot of expertise, and the easiest thing you have is the context. What you have is not just the context, but you have this dual identity that everyone has been talking about today. You can easily translate things that are completely taken away from what they really are. So the first thing that I would say is be willing to volunteer information so that you can build the context. I mean, an easy one is, you mentioned in your question, the 20 or so young people that were, the context of when many of those people went was during the Ethiopian military invasion. That was the context. Now, when they got there, they got sucked into all kinds of other things. But if we're not willing to build the context, and we're not willing to say, okay, it's more than just clear cut, then we're doing the cycle all over again. Now, what can you do? It's very, very easy. Every one of us has, again, and it goes back to, again, laws are made and carried out by politicians. Pure and simple. Police do what politicians tell them to do at the end of the day. So what you can do is exactly what Nimco is saying. Document these things. Go right to your congressman's office and say, I'm willing to sit here and wait, sacrifice half a day, and say, I took a plane ride, and at the airport, they made me sit for whatever time just to touch material. I went through a metal detector, for goodness sakes. Took my shoes off and everything. So the point is back to the issue. If the issue drives you, then you find out the closest place where you can touch it, and you sacrifice time. So at the end of the day, we have to be willing to build the context. This is a two-way street here. If we're under a rock, no one's ever going to know the context. No one's ever going to know. Now, as far as national security is concerned, again, we all remember the color coding and so forth. We all remember those, I think it was like 20 or 30 gentlemen at the Minneapolis airport that were praying. All of a sudden, they cleared out the whole wing of the airport. No context. People didn't know what in the world they were doing. But if we can't build the context and educate people, we have to be forthcoming in that sense. So that's where the engagement comes. If you sit in front of a politician and they say, well, you're a good-looking man, nice pink shirt, that's bold, by the way. You're a good-looking guy. Oh, you're Somali. Wow. Well, thanks for volunteering. Now he has a personal connection with a Somali person. Oh, you're Muslim. Oh, you speak English. All these things count. It's called FaceTime. If you don't put in the FaceTime, it's really difficult to sit back and say, I don't like what they're saying. And if you influence one congressman, you actually touched all of them. You get that one person fired up, get out of the way. It'll be like a runaway train. So the very first thing is we have to be willing to build the context and educate people. And the best thing to educate somebody is to sit in front of them. Say, hi, my name is Guled, can we talk?
actually just wanted to add 2 more points. For our community, I realize when we face any problem, we either fall into the victim category or we become the silent. Both of those will compromise on our integrity and life in here and back home, because those are not really a good characters you can develop. You cannot be a victim and you cannot be silent. You need to articulate it, represent it, understand it, convey it very well. If we do that, our problems will be at least kind of what engaged in the proper way and going to the direction that we want it.
Okay, we'll end with one more question.
Assalamu alaikum. You guys, the panel has mentioned quite a few times that this is a great system, the governmental system, and as an umbrella affects the education system. And I'm realizing on a national level, because I'm involved with Columbus Youth Commission, which is a youth political team, and I'm realizing on a national level that Somali youth, the failures greatly outweigh the success stories. And whether it's gangs or violence or dropping out of school, the rates have shot up. And I feel like the system is not doing great for us, and it's not doing great for everyone else, but especially the Somali community at this moment. And so I feel like the education system is broken. And I was wondering what the panel thought were practical steps for us to take in order to improve not only the system, you know, on a great basis, but the Somali community within the system.
Let's organize. Easy enough. That's it. Every community knows the kids that are in high school. Every community knows the kids that are in middle school. Every community knows the kids that are in trouble. That's it. We all go to masjid. We all go to weddings and funerals. And we all know about each other. So the very first thing is let's organize. I mean, very simple. Make a head count. And then we know, I mean, the very first thing is in Somalia, you know, Tirakop, we need to know where the people are. We need to have it documented. It's Facebook all over again. Get the emails. Mass communication on a personal level, because that issue personally impacts them. And again, back to issue. That's your issue. So what are you willing to sacrifice for it? This is a give and take. You've identified an issue. You feel personal about it. All right, all yours. Let's go.
Lastly, I mentioned earlier, you know, that politicians normally are afraid of people who are active, but they also respond to people who are active. When communities are organized, they look organized and they are active and they carry on an issue, yes, people will respond to those issues. But the thing is, we can't do it ourselves. So we have to find other people who we actually have issues in common with. We're not the only one that this system is failing. There's so many other communities. But guess what we do? And it's not only us, honestly, it's all people of color. We all stand around with our own issues when we all have one issue together. But if we all come together, I think we can make things happen. And that is the reason why a lot of the Caucasians are more successful in their issues than ours. The people of color, I meant. Thank you, guys.
I just wanted to add also the point that you've articulated, it's very important. And it's not just the youth, it's the parents. You need to encourage more involvement for them, that this is a political system. They are in this country. They need to be involved. They need to do volunteer work. They need to find organizations that they can help and learn. Because if they understand the system here, those are the people who are going to go back and create the system back home and educate people and create opportunities and bring about peace. So if we're not really understanding how to, and helping each other, how many of thousands, 50,000, I believe, I don't know the exact number in Minneapolis. Somebody should be in the Congress. Somebody should be in the city council. Somebody should be in the Senate. We have huge numbers, but none of us representing us. By creating those opportunities, first, you create something for the youth to look up to, that he understands that somebody like him that comes in from the same background is doing something and an example and contributing positively to a greater society. It's called America, called human beings. So we need to really open our eyes and understand that we are here at masses. We have the intellect, this human brain that, you know, it's a great gift that can do miracles and have done it for human beings throughout the history. It cannot be an excuse of Islam, because we know if you go back to history and you look at Islam, when it prospered was when the Supreme Judge was a chemist. Ibn Rushd or Ibn Sina, when the most elite scholars were really running the government, which is why the government now here works, because Harvard graduates run the country. It's not somebody who just comes up from nowhere. Somebody who has experience, who lived with different people, who understands the importance of respect, because it's really crucial. You cannot learn and you cannot prosper as a human being, regardless of where you come from, if you don't have a respect. Because for me to listen to somebody, to know that they're offering me something, I have to respect them. And that's a really major problem we have as a community, that if we want to really learn and grow, we have to be very humble, know that we, through respect and opening our eyes, that's the only way we can learn. And I believe, you know, for the examples that you're doing, it's great. I do the same thing for my sisters. I make sure she goes into volunteers for the city council, that she does literally 360 hours every day. Literally, she volunteers, or throughout the week, I make sure that 5 hours or 4 hours she volunteers with the YMCA, with the school, with the city council, because it's important. If she wants her life to be changed, she needs to give the time. She needs to understand it. So I think that's the most important thing.
I think we are done, but since Guled is not on the stage right now, I can say this. Since Guled said he's running for county council, God, honestly, the first day when I saw that he was running, the first thing I did was I went to his website, I wrote him a check and sent it over. I live in Minneapolis, guys. I don't live here. So the thing is, we have to support one another. You don't have to live here to contribute to Guled, and it's not on that panel to actually say this, but I'm just telling you guys as Somalis, it's all about the time for a candidate is about the dollars as well. So anything that you guys can contribute to the brother will be appreciated. Thank you, guys.